think. Gotta close that door. This roll never sleeps. That is Rise of the Red God for Amazing Adventures 5th edition that's rolling off. So that's a good thing. Alright, looks like we are live. GM's Tricks of the Trade 46, I think. Is that where we are? I believe it is. So that's like 5 or 6. What is that? 230. There you go. Well, we are back. It is. How's that? I was mumbling to myself. Was that not good enough? Do I have sound? Chuck, can you hear me? How's it going, Epi? All right, good deal. We're all live. Everything worked. It's a little easier than it was in the first few months, as I managed to mess up everything until Tim and Chuck managed to streamline things for me and make it a little simple for my tired brain. How's it going, James? Thanks for joining us. I went off the yeah. Well, that's because they made it really easy. I told them it has to be insanely easy. That's why I could switch from Advanced Dungeons & Dragons to Castles and Crusades, because it was so very easy. And let's face it, AD&D was a pretty easy game. It didn't have many rules. It had a bunch of crap you could do, but you didn't have to. So you could toss them to the side and do whatever you wanted. So making it easy is a good thing for me. How's it going, Willie? I can't believe we've done 46 of these things. So I don't think we've streamed 46 of them. I think we've done 46 newsletters, but not actually streamed that many. I think that's how it goes. All right, Stream Elements is telling us that we are live. That's good. Yeah, tonight we did a little different. I wandered off the beaten path of GM's Tricks of the Trade, because I just got to thinking that, you know, the GM is really only a quarter or a fifth or a third of the table. There's a whole lot of other people there that need, you know, that have a say in the way things are going. And I know that being a player can be tough. You got to listen to the GM drone on forever and a day, and you know, describe this, that, or the other, and then you've got to solve riddles and solve problems and make life or death decisions for your characters pretty continually. So it's there's a lot going on there, and I will say, I think, you know, in the olden times it was a little easier because we didn't have cell phones. Now we had phones, of course. Phones were always ringing and people were always talking to each other. But the cell phones have added a whole other level of distraction that is difficult to circumvent. So that's kind of what I tackled this week, was diving into players that get distracted from what's going on. I'm hoping we can go back and make streams for any missing GMs. Hey, that's a good idea, Chuck. I hadn't thought about that. I'm not sure when we started the Twitch stream, probably around Tricks of the Trade 25 or something. I think I've done 15 weeks of this. How many months is that? 5 months? I don't know. Something like that. Yeah, that is. How's it going, Douglas? Hey, Scott, how you doing? Yeah, well, we should look into it. I think it would be cool. We could do an extra show a week or some such business, however you want to do it. I don't care. How's it going, Raven? When are you going to make some more commercials like To the End of Emmy? I loved them, saw them for the first time today. Oh, man. So I had one more script done and ready to go, and it actually went to the director about, must be 2 years ago now, or a year or so. But then he does a lot of, Hop is the guy who directed those for us, and he's an Emmy Award-winning director who actually lives here local to me, friend of mine up the street, strangely enough. and he does a lot of fishing shows and shows like, hunting shows, stuff like that. And he trying to get his schedule and my schedule lined up. It didn't work, and then we both just kind of dropped it. But the script for number 3 is done, and we've got ideas. He and I both had ideas for doing even more going down the line. So, hopefully we're able to revisit that soon, because both of those little things turned out far better than I could ever had hoped that they would. And it really, that experience for me, I'm used to doing role-playing games and manufactured board games and all of that other stuff. But to get, and I wrote the script, that's all I did. And then I sat in a chair, in the producer's chair, and just sat there and watched this magic unfold. Well, thank you for that, Raven. I'll let everybody know. I'm still in contact with all of them. But the cool thing about it was, Hop would take the script that I wrote, and he'd kind of start tooling with it and switching angles and taking away here. And then to watch the actors and the actress, Megan, get into their roles. The coolest moment was, and I don't want to do too much behind the scenes because that always spoils it for me, but there's a scene where the older guy, I think the character's name now, it looks around the cabin at Megan's character as she pulls her gun on her, or the bow at him, I think. And filming that scene was amazing because Hop's standing over there with the camera and all that business, and he says, okay, give me happy, give me sarcastic, give me angry, give me scared. And every time the actor would step back and then come back with a different facial expression, I was like, holy, that's really cool. There's no way I could have done that. Now, originally it was conceived that I was going to play the role of the older guy. Davis was going to play the role of the younger guy, and we were going to hire someone to do the female role in it. But Hop takes that idea instantly, and I hired these 3 actors, and now I can see why they were hired. Indigo, hey, Elizabeth, how's it going? Incorporate fishing and or hunting into the next show, and everybody wins. Well, the next one actually had, strangely enough, Elizabeth, you probably remember the truck. My truck, Old Blue, that I had forever and a day, and it was a truck we drove to conventions, of course, all over the place. And it was centered around that. Our heroes get kind of caught up into this melee around the truck. But I sold the truck about a year ago. I got to rewrite this script no matter what I do. Because the Old Blue truck is gone. But how's it going, Puppet Master? Hey, Tim or Chuck, could we get the links for those to the end and Emmy? I'll put those up in there for people who may not have seen those small commercials. But thanks for pointing those out, Raven. Those were a blast to do, and like I said, the outcome was so much better than I had anticipated. I figured it would be. I mean, you've seen examples of my photography. It's absolutely horrific. I figured it'd be, some camera work that we're doing, and it all turns out terrible. But it completely fell apart. Davis used it for a few years, and it just sort of disintegrated, and it was going to take a lot of money to fix it back up, and I very, very, very reluctantly sold that truck and sent it on to hopefully greener pastures in my driveway. But yeah, that's that. Now I still got the one I bought in 2008, the big old 4-door crew cab thing that I dragged troll lords all over the country with. But the Old Blue has moved on to greener pastures. The funny thing about it, when I put some pictures up on Facebook, letting everybody say goodbye to Old Blue. And there's a movie where Will Ferrell plays. They're trying to get a fraternity back together. I can't remember the name of the movie. It was really funny, but Will Ferrell plays one of the characters who moves back into the fraternity, and they're doing all that mess. Old School, yeah, that's it. Old School. So in Old School, there's a scene. One of the really old guys in the fraternity dies, and they called him Blue. And of course, I called my truck Old Blue. And then they do a funeral for him, and he says something like, "We're going to miss you, Old Blue," or something like that. It was absolutely hysterical because someone put that up on a Facebook post with the pictures of the truck. It almost brought tears to my eye. still think about that truck. It was a good truck. Oh, blue, yeah. It was crazy, absolutely crazy. How's it going, Cam? Thanks for joining us. Absolutely. Let's see, first time on. Hello, I'm the guy who ordered a bunch of you guys and sent my pics from when I was serving on board. Oh, hello, Mad Matt. How's it going? That was awesome. That I got to see the Missouri when I was stationed in Hawaii. She was on her final voyage going back to, where did they end up putting 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐜𝐤𝐬? Isn't that what they call her, 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐜𝐤𝐬? But I got to see her on her final voyage. We toured her and all that. So it was really kind of cool. Beautiful, beautiful battleship. And my youngest son, who is a World War II Pacific theater just nut, I showed him those pictures, and he was tickled pink. So thanks for that, Matt. That was very cool. Old Blue, yeah. Wait, no, 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐜𝐤𝐬. No, what was the Missouri called? There was a nickname for it. Now I can't remember what it was. Great stuff. Anyways, yes, thanks for joining us, Matt. Absolutely. And thank you all for showing up tonight for GM's Tricks of the Trade, the Players Edition, sort of. That's kind of what I should have called it, but we'll plunge into that in just a minute. Being on board with those 16-inch guns fired was extreme. Oh, I can only imagine. I can absolutely only imagine it rattling the dentures out of your, the fillings out of your teeth. The Mighty Mo, that was it. Okay, I knew it was something like that. That's awesome. Yeah, it was a beautiful battleship. Absolutely beautiful. Being stationed in Hawaii was very interesting because I kind of got a little taste of Air Force, Navy, Marines, and Army. It was very cool. From Missouri. Yeah, I imagine if you're on it, it's a whole different ballgame. Yeah, so here's the links to, which one is this? It's the 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐜𝐤𝐬, I think. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, so this is 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐜𝐤𝐬. This is the second. This is the Tim just texted me. He can't get on. This is the second of the commercials that we did. The first one was more of a commercial. The second one for Castles and Crusades, and the second one was more of I kind of toned down the commercial aspects of it and did more of a continuation of the first one I made, because that first one turned out so absolutely beautiful. But check those out. I mean, I enjoyed making them. It was fun to watch the actors take the script that I'd written and really expound on it and change it and put emotion to it and say, no, the inflection needs to be on this word and not on this word. It was really cool watching those artists just go with it. I mean, it was very cool. Yeah, very, very cool. How's it going, Nelson? Thanks for joining us. As we're about to dive into GM's Tricks of the Trade 46, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. And if you have not already, please give us a follow. We sure appreciate it. We're going to build up our Twitch, the whole thing on Twitch. We'll move a lot of gaming over here. Chuck's hard at work on that, so hopefully I'll start running games soon on this platform, and we'll get more CNC up here and other games, of course, Victorious and Amazing Adventures and whatever. We'll get it all up on the Troll channel so we all can kind of enjoy the fruits of what we've all made happen here. How to welcome you as my first time. There you go. Take only what is necessary to live. That was the original title of the series, was going to be Take What You Need, because I think, I cannot remember that main character's name. Dang it, it's all escaped. I need to go look at those again. But that was kind of the idea of the series, that each little episode, it would be Take Only What You Need, and it came out of that first one, which of course they needed the Castles and Crusades book, which was just, it was so very, very well. Jukes, yes, that's his name. That's the older guy is Jukes, yes. And now there's two other. There's the young guy. The young guy's actually quite. He's quite the acrobat. I mean, he's very skilled, an actor / acrobat. Amazing stuff. And I got to tell you, if you haven't watched it, check it out. There's a scene where Megan draws her Colt 45. Now that is a real Colt Colt. It's a. My words are escaping me. Anyway, it's Colt 45. And when she draws it, that's not sped up. I mean, her quick draw on that pistol was nothing short of astounding. I was floored because I was standing 20 feet off, and she does that quick draw when the one character is coming through the window. I was floored. It wasn't loaded, of course, but still, it's a heavy gun, and it's not as easy to yank those things out of the holster as people think it is. How's it going, Dead Hand? Thanks for joining us tonight. All right, well, that's enough of movie making and all of that. Let's I'll get a Dr. Pepper. let's get into GM Straight Up Trade and see what we got going on. Yeah, Tim's out for a while. I think his internet went down. Lord. Okay. So tonight, this week's GM Tricks, like I mentioned earlier, we kind of went off the beaten path. I kind of shifted to the player side of things. You know, players are an absolutely monstrous part of the game. So we all like to the GMs are the center and the adjudicators and the storytellers, but it's really players that are making it all happen, right? They're the ones that actually act on anything that the GM puts on the thing, and then they have to figure it all out. And I think players really get they're the unsung sufferers at the table because. And think about it when you're playing and you've got to solve a riddle and you can't figure it out for anything. I mean, the GM's up there thinking in their head that this is easy, but it's not. You're on the other side of the screen and none of it makes any sense. You're not good at riddles anyways, or you missed some clue 3 rooms back or what have you. So the whole thing gets dicey for players. And it's only made much when this Dr. Pepper is out. Yeah, there you go, Effie. I like my Dr. Pepper. It's like fuel. I really need to do advertisements for Dr. Pepper. In fact, I don't know if I can do this. I'm finishing up the Ruins of 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬 for the Amazing Adventures 5th edition version, and in it I'm describing the grill or the gas station, the mercantile. And I mentioned that they have Dr. Pepper and Coca-Cola fountains. I'm not sure I can do that. I need to check. I'm not sure I can put that in that book. I'll run it by Eagle. At any rate, so talking about players, it's doubly difficult on a player when they miss something, and for whatever reason. And there's a gazillion reasons that a player might miss something. They might just drift off. The phone flashes. What the GM is saying is boring. What the GM has done is repeated themselves, 5 or 6 times, and the player's just checked out. Or they might just not be into the adventure. There's an almost limitless number of reasons that a player might miss the description or the clue or the whatever it is that you're describing as a GM. So what I put out there is just 5 easy things for players to do to get back into the game without derailing the game. Because the real problem for me as a GM, and I'm sure for a lot of you all, that once you lose a player, if you've got 4 people at a table and you lose one, now you've got to stop and kind of recalibrate what you're doing to bring this person back up to speed. So you're going to have to repeat everything again, and frequently a 3rd time, because more confusion. Once you repeat it once, confusion is going to come and questions are going to come from this side. So now you've just got to kind of revisit the whole thing. And then it also creates that kind of doubt that's in, any kind of storyteller, when you're doing a verbal story to somebody and people don't react like you want them to or expect them to or think that they should, then immediately your brain's like, okay, this didn't work. I got to change, my stride, change what I'm doing a little bit. And then that just can easily derail everything that you're doing going forward. And players are frequently the source of that derailment because they missed whatever it is, and then they are sitting there, and then you ask them what they're doing, and they have no idea what to do, or they do something so far out of left field that it makes no sense, and the whole thing's kind of, or worse, they're just sitting there doing absolutely nothing, and then the whole thing just kind of spins out. My players dream of food like that title panel. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's the other side to it. Forget all the distractions. They're just hungry, or they're actually eating, and they're not paying any attention to what you're doing. Yeah, the distractions don't have to be bad. They might just be very, very practical. I saw on Discord a person saying the fudge results sometimes get to the outcome they want. When I DM, I never do that. And as a player, I have had the feeling the GM was not telling the truth about their roles, and it took the fun out of it for me. You have more experience than I do. Do you have an opinion one way or the other? Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of the players keep what they roll. That's what you get. But on the other side of the screen, it's kind of a free-for-all. And the reason that I say that, and I don't let people look over the screen. They should never know one way or the other if I fudged to the left or the right. Because a lot of it, when I'm running the game and I'm trying to kind of impart a story, or more importantly, I'm trying to get a mood across, and the dice just seems to be not working one way or the other, or worse, if a player's going to get killed when I don't need them to get killed. Because frequently, killing a player, it can be cool, it can be fun, it can be memorable, but it also can completely wreck a game if the character, if player A gets slaughtered, and then they've got to stop and make a new character, and not only is the flow broken, but now you've got to integrate a new character into a 5th level game or what have you. And if you're doing campaigns like I do, and I do, mine are continuous, day by day by day. I rarely do episodic. I don't do, let's do a dungeon Tuesday and take the same characters for next Tuesday, and we're going to do an overland. And then I string stuff between the two. There's encounters in overland and travel, so I don't ever do that. So for me, fudging the roles becomes this thing that helps me control the story. Now I don't do it often. I mean, it's not like I'm always kind of manipulating the roles. Mostly it's what it is and what it is. But occasionally I need the players to take more damage, or more often than not, I need them to take less damage. Now, one of the things that I do when I fudge, there's always a payoff for me, or a payback for me. If I fudge a roll in a character's favor, it's usually going to cost them dearly in equipment. So let's say that I roll a natural 20 against somebody. I know it's going to do 36 points of damage because it's a hill giant or whatever, and I do max damage plus a d4. So we're going to be doing 40 points of damage. I'll back off that, and instead of doing the damage, I'll destroy equipment. He hits you so hard that it breaks the straps on your plate mail, and the front breastplate falls off and the back plate falls away. You have no armor class anymore. So there's usually some kind of payoff for the roll, but I will occasionally fudge. But I don't ever tell players if and when I do it, because you're right. If they know, if the player knows you're back there manipulating stuff, it takes the fun out of it, because now it's not a game of chance. It's a game of what the GM wants to have happen. And that's why I don't do it often, but I will do it if the story or the tone needs it. But absolutely never let players know when, if, and how you're doing it. Of course, mine have learned over the years when equipment is destroyed, but sometimes that is they destroy equipment all the time anyway, so they may not know that or not. I don't know. I'm sure Matt does. He usually pays close attention. Now that I played, that I DM online with my players, their kids and wives keep destructing them. There you go. Sometimes it's fun to roll right in front of them to increase attention. Yeah, that works sometimes, but once you've done that, the cat's out of the bag. You got to take what you get. There's no manipulating at that point. But it can be. It certainly, and it can backfire. Yeah, absolutely. Your advice on destroying damage works fantastic. Scares the PC's humor. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, when you wreck equipment, not only does it is literally my favorite thing to do at the table, I think, because not only are you kind of redirecting damage and keeping the character alive a little bit longer, but you're destroying equipment, which makes it more. Now they're more nervous because they just lost their shield or broke their sword or whatever. And it also sucks up gold that they're going to get from the adventure, so they don't end up with 62 million gold pieces. So for me, destroying equipment is a win-win-win all the way down. And it's kind of realistic. I mean, any of us that have been hiking, camping, in the Army, in the Navy, whatever, man, equipment doesn't... I love watching The Walking Dead, and Rick, my favorite character, but he's always got the cowboy boots on, but I have to resole my boots twice a year. So I can guarantee you, he running down the pavement, he went through the boots like nobody's tomorrow. I'm glad I could help, Scott. Break a shield, smash a sword, or favorite, absolutely. And also throw in a magic item, lower level magic item. Something gets destroyed, and it's mind jarring to a character, but they get to survive and live through, whatever nightmare encounter you've spun for them. Yep, destroying equipment always works. Hey, Piper, how's it going, man? Haven't talked to you in quite a while. Thanks for joining us. Piper goes way back. He actually owes me an adventure. He wrote an adventure long ago, gave it to me, then said no, and then I haven't heard from him since. So send me my adventure, Piper. Usually similar to how I do it. Players usually don't realize you're manipulating the game unless you make it obvious. But even with logic, you get hit with an axe or an arrow pierces the armor or whatever. I mean, you need to think of the damage the gear takes and whatnot. It makes the players think twice about just rushing into battle. Yeah, I mean, and that, at the end of the day, This stuff is not, it's magic, of course. And then now the other thing, just to let you guys know, one of the things that I do, now magic, like magic armor specifically, heals itself. If it's rent open or torn or mangled, it actually after a few days just kind of comes back together, so that the equipment's damaged, it's not out of that combat, but they don't lose it permanently. Not usually. It's in the mail. Yeah, I'm sure it is. There you go. Checks in the mail. All right, so let's just dive into trick of the trade number 1, and we're talking about players once they're distracted. So if you're a GM, you can, maybe you can feed this to your players and let them know that, here's a way to re-engage yourself if you have gotten lost in the game. So the first one, is just own it. If you completely missed what the description is, and don't know what's happening, then really the player should just say, listen, I spaced out, I didn't hear that. I apologize. Could you repeat it? And then go. Or even ask another player, hey, I spaced out. I didn't hear what he was saying, so, blah, blah, blah. And that's the easiest way. Just step up to the plate and own that you weren't paying close enough attention and go with it. Now, it rarely is going to cause hard feelings, because sometimes it will, but rarely. Most GMs, I know I've played with Piper before, he's one of them. They love to repeat themselves anyways. They got all of this imagery in their head, and they want to get it out, in as many forms as possible. So a single repeat usually doesn't cause any rancor or upset. It doesn't with me. Now, when you get to a third or fourth time, it starts getting a little onerous that you're having to repeat stuff so much, and you're starting to bore other players who've already heard it or who perhaps listen. So the first one really is just. It's just the easiest. Just step forward and own that you weren't paying attention. The only time saying, hey, the Piper won't work. Yeah, Piper, yeah, there you go. Yeah, I can see the discretion of a magic item in lieu of death is a pretty good, yes, very sparingly alternative. I could say the item explodes in magical energy, propelling the PC away from the mortal blow. No, that's good. Yeah, that's very good. I don't think I've ever actually done that, but that's actually an extraordinarily good idea there, Blue Materia. Yeah, that's very cool, because then you've taken the impact of the dice roll that you just obliterated the character with, and just changed its energy into destroying the weapon, and added some really cool descriptive stuff. And now the character's thrown back, the item's destroyed, and it's kind of like a reset almost. That's a very good idea. I love it. And anything for me at the table that makes the characters have to react differently. And one of the things I enjoy the most as a GM is, Tim has joined us. One of the things that I enjoy most as a GM is the plethora of things that come at me. You map out this idea that you want to do, an adventure, dungeon, whatever it is, and they're not ever going to do what you think they're going to do. Rarely are they going to. And that's kind of the cool part, because that makes you, as the GM, constantly change stride. You have to adjust to what they're doing, whether it's changing your story or changing whatever it is. It doesn't matter. And I like it. So I like things that surprise me, because it's I'm surprising the players all the time. When they surprise me, it's just as fun. And that destroying a magic item and throwing somebody back, because it explodes and the energy propels them, then you definitely have got something, kind of a reset, and they're going to have to do something completely different. They were knocked out of the combat, or whatever, this track, whatever, and they've lost their item, and now they've got to figure something out, which is one of the best things for me about losing equipment. When a player loses their equipment, they have to retool what they're doing, and if they lose it in combat, they have to retool what they're doing instantly, and that is challenging and fun. And it adds a whole new layer of just fun to it. And when you got the characters using the same items over and over and over and over and over again, the same spells over and over and over and over again, it just gets a little boring for the CK, for the GM. So it's always good, I think, to shake it up. And if you can knock them out of combat, break their weapon, and make them shake it up, all the better. How's it going, Green Lantern? Your name cracks me up every time I say it. Well, there you go. I had to go to audio only. All right. Well, that's so the first trick of the trade tonight was just if you're a player, just own it. If you didn't hear it, move on. But sometimes that's not going to work, and sometimes you just don't want to do that. So this one I see happen at my table frequently, which cracks me up, which is basically latching on to a word. You're not going to hear everything that the GM said. Just thanks for the follow, Mad Matt. Much appreciated. Speaking of which, if you are new to the show, please, if you have not already, give us a follow. We sure appreciate it. And later we're going to be rating a channel that's filled with video game mayhem. So give them a follow too. But for now, latching on to a word is the subject at hand. We have a new Discord server come in. So basically, you've missed 95% of what the GM said. You've heard a couple of words rolling around in your head. Just latch on to one of them. It doesn't matter what it is, and then ask a very innocuous question. I think the example I said something about a description with the words red beard in your head. Just ask them a question about the beard. Was the beard commanding? And you don't want the question to be too pointed, or you'll admit that you missed the description. But you want it to be enough that engages the GM again, so that they'll kind of re-describe it to you, and probably in a different way. If you've in a normal course of play, if the GM gives you a description and you have a couple of questions, then that GM's going to almost always repeat the description in a different way, from a different angle, or use different adjectives, or whatever it is. So what did the aardvark say again? Yeah, exactly. Just a very innocuous question that no one can, you can't pin you down on. So the GM's already kind of primed to do this. So if you just throw a question towards them, you frequently can get a recap of what was said without derailing anything or making the GM think that you're not paying attention. It's kind of an artful dodge. It's a little bit of misdirection, It's something we do for those that are our kids. That's what we do to our kids. You kind of just misdirect them. And this is sort of the same thing. You take your GM and just kind of to rechannel the energy in another direction. And if you're lucky, especially if you're a player who's been paying attention, if you're lucky, you'll pick up on even more information. I know that on my Thursday night game, both Mac and Chris are very good at manipulating me with asking questions. And the more I answer, I'll almost always give something away. I mean, it's kind of this game of cat and mouse. It goes back and forth. And they just keep outsmarting me. So it can actually have a better outcome than even just repeating the description to I won't say a lazy player, but someone who's not paying attention. They do. Douglas is right. GMs like questions and talking. They do. I mean, at the end of the day, what the GM is mostly doing is telling a story, whether they're doing it through mechanics, or whether they're doing it through role-playing, or whether they're doing it through description. It doesn't matter. Your style of play doesn't matter. That GM is generally going to be talkative. They're going to be the ones that are just spilling all of this out and hitting you with it, and they love it. So when you ask a question, they're rarely offended, unless you ask the question. Repeat, I don't know. I think I mentioned that somewhere in the trick of the trade. Two of the worst things that you can say to a GM is, I don't know and I'm confused. Both of them, I don't know means that the GM didn't explain it well enough, so the GM's an idiot. And I'm confused is the same thing. So you're basically throwing the fact that you didn't pay attention back to the GM and saying, you didn't do your job well enough because I don't know what's going on, when everyone else at the table knows what's going on. So, it's kind of one of those things. If you're a player, always avoid I don't know and I'm confused. Just don't throw those out there. I am unusually the note taker for our party, keeping track of NPCs and encounter names, etc. So I'm always the one asking the clarifications, or could you spell his name for you? Oh, the spelling of the name. Man, I always tell them, because I'll use the book of names and it's got them spelled in their Germanic or Czech or whatever language I'm using. The extraordinary book of names, and the spelling's always crazy. So I always just tell them to spell it phonetically. It is Otto. Spell it however you want to spell it. Yeah, note takers are great. Every game you need someone taking notes so that they can, one, go back a couple of games, or in the game that you're in, remember. I mean, you think about it, players are bombarded with information constantly for 3 or 4 hours. It's this wave of information, and they got to take the pertinent parts, figure out what's important, dissect it, and then act upon it, or they die. So, it's, being a player can be stressful, and note taking can really help take that stress off of that. Questions are always good, though. Did we get some? How's it going, Moondog? There you go. Our note taker drinks and never. Yeah, well, Nelson, that could be a problem. The more inebriated your scribe becomes, the harder scribble that it becomes. I remember Charlie Sifford used to play with us, and he would always imbibe a little bit. By the end of the night, man, his scribble was just lines and wavy marks on paper. It was so fun. It was great. Let's see. This is why you get something that helps with notes. Yeah, some kind of recording device maybe or something. If you've got someone that's good at shorthand, that's actually really good. I don't mean the actual shorthand, but just taking the pertinent parts out of what the GM is saying and scribbling down. That's always a good thing. And note taking is good. It's a lost art, I think, at many, many tables. Let's see. How's it going, Ghidorah? Especially when you go back to review those notes next day, especially if someone's inebriated. Yes, the notes are utterly pointless. But Mac, the game we've been running now, and we've been running it since 06 or 07 or something like that, and he doesn't do much. He'll do like 1 or 2 lines per game and a date, kind of keep track of the date somewhat. And when he doesn't, he can rebuild it from where he wrote it down last time. And he and I both actually use those now because it's the same campaign, the 15th level, 12, 14 years, I don't know what it is, whatever it is. So we go back and use those notes a lot to see what happened or who they met or what happened. Bishop Ad, thank you very much. Cured with 100. Hoorah! I'm still learning some of this stuff on Twitch, so I'm not sure what that means, but but thank you for that. Very cool. All right, so yeah, latch on to a word and just get the GM to repeat it somehow. Yeah, we're all learning. We're all, how's it going, Tombstone? We're all kind of having to adjust to a new reality. So, and thankfully Twitch is here, already built in place, and people like Chuck know it through and through, so they can get us set up on it and moving forward. It is a brave new world. Tim, I keep saying that, but is that a book title? Wasn't that a book title, A Brave New World? I don't know why that is forever rolling around in my head. Brave New World, yes. Something. Oh, well, okay. If Tim is still with us. It is, okay, so it is a book. Chuck knows it's a book. All right. Who wrote it? Do you remember? I don't think I've actually ever read it. I just keep using the title as a catchphrase, which is not cool. Switched over from Lord 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐜𝐤𝐬, whose broadcast is having lag. Huxley? It was Huxley. Yes, Bakestoff. It was Aldous Huxley. Yes, I have never read it. I remember seeing it, loving clearly the title stuck in my head somehow because it is still there. And Lord knows when I saw that book title. It was a long time ago. So the third trick of the trade. Maybe you've been jamming to some Iron Maiden. Maybe. It's not quite my cup of tea. Scott, go over to my Facebook page and you'll see my rather eclectic collection of music I post. Not daily, but pretty much daily. That one I do not have. That one I do not. I actually was looking at the Territorial Imperative the other day. I recommend everybody read that. It's a fantastic book written by a science fiction author, but it's about anthropology, written in 66 or 68 or something. A little dated, but a very, very good book. Anyways, that's way off course. That's a digression beyond a digression. Territorial Imperative, check it out. Fantastic book. It'll make your thinking cap turn around. So the third one is to reassess. This is sort of like latching on. It's not a huge difference, but if you didn't hear a word or you don't know anything that the GM said, just reassess. Just tell them, I missed that. I was looking at my character. Look at your character, see what's on there. Ask a question about your character sheet or about an item that you've got, or to the conditions of your equipment. Can the equipment survive what's coming? Anything like that to get the GM to realize, okay, you're still in the game. You missed it not because I'm boring, but because you were paying attention to your character sheet. So reassessing your character is always it's a good way to do it. Plus, it's just not a bad thing to do because then you can get more information out that may not even be germed to what's going on, but may actually help you moving forward as a player. Now, all of these are kind of subtle ways. Well, the first one wasn't, but these two are kind of subtle ways to manipulate the GM into one not, getting upset or calling you out or punishing you with hit point damage for not paying attention. And maybe if you're lucky, to extract a little bit more information out that can help you and your compadres at the table. Check out these guys, Clamavi de Profundis, good stuff. All right, I don't know what that is, but Mad Matt has given us a challenge here to check out whatever that is. I'm assuming that's music that we were talking about. Yes, eclectic. That is that's the best word to describe my musical taste. I don't know what I was listening to this morning. Some kind of odd. It was the Twilight Zone theme song done in a kind of a rockabilly type fashion. It was really cool. I actually thought I posted it on my Facebook, but didn't. But it was really cool. Okay, yeah, definitely. Any kind of music that's different. Oh, geez, we'll see you later, Piper. Take it easy, man. Yeah, any kind of music that's, I don't know, that's just different. It kind of sparks a chord or whatnot. I can listen to almost even metal. I can listen to metal, a little rap. Probably jazz is the only thing I don't care that much for, but jazz under the right circumstances I'll listen to as well. I do like some hillbilly clod hopping. That's just some good stuff. So the third one here is to reassess. Just pretend like you're looking at your character and you need some more information on it, and that should satisfy the GM that you're not completely ignoring what they're doing behind the screen. I take for other players, if you see someone that's floundering, don't be afraid to give some prompts. Take a bit of a load off the CK. Absolutely, John. That is a fantastic idea. That you cannot say that enough. If you are playing and someone's not paying attention or floundering, like you said, or they clearly don't understand something, it's much better to take for the player to engage that player than the GM to, because easily the GM-player relationship in this instance can become, not hostile, not the word, but combative, kind of. Why weren't you listening or whatever. And so it can easily kind of go off kilter. And you don't ever want it to do that, because that's going to derail the entire game. So what John's saying here is if you're a player and there's other players at the table and they're not responding, engage them as best you can. Try to drag them in, and if you can get them fired up in some capacity or even engaged in some capacity, not only does it take it off the GM completely, but it takes the load off, but it will help them kind of re-engage. They clearly aren't, super interested in what's going on behind the screen, but you're all friends and comrades, so they don't, leave the man behind concept plays in, and they're likely to get more engaged if another player does. Now, that's actually a fantastic tip right there. That is a fantastic one. Probably better than all 5 of these on here that you're discussing tonight. Not sure if I'm allowed to share a link. Yeah, share away. I think so. Right, Chuck? I don't know. Chuck and Tim handle all this. I'm not. I just show up. So, there you go. I will say, Jazz taught me a lot about improv, and that's carried over to my GM life as well. Well, no, that's cool. You just learned to take everything in stride so you can own your own mistakes and get back to track now. That's very cool. I had never thought of jazz in that way, but I guess a lot of jazz is I listen to a lot of Johnny Cash, and a lot of Johnny Cash is him just talking. I mean, he's singing, sort of, but he's not really. He's playing 3 chords and talking, but his voice is so melodious that you want to hear it. But jazz, I guess, is the same kind of approach. You can take the same, I've listened to a bit of jazz, you can take the same song, and correct me if I'm wrong, Beck-Sauce, but you can change the tempo, you can, faster, slower, whatever, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do to it. Jazz taught me a lot about hands, shaky British. Well, there's always jazz hands, Douglas. There's always jazz hands. That's fantastic. Oh, Lordy, jazz hands. Those things crack me up. All right, so rambling on to trick of the trade number 4. You can change everything. Yeah, it's more of a framework of all kinds of good tricks. And that's cool. See, now I'm going to have to go, now Basalt has sold me, I'm going to have to go explore jazz. What I do when I'm listening, I listen to this music on YouTube, and frequently my sequence of events is this. I go to these little clip pieces, like GIFs with sound or whatever, and I just watch them, and it's all kinds of people doing whatever, falling down, jumping stuff, whatever it is, shooting off firecrackers, but they're all done to these little pieces of music, and then when I find something that's pleasing, I'll just figure out what that is, and then, or I'll search for it, and then I'm in what I call the stream, and I just follow it. I'll listen to that piece. If I like it, I'll listen to it. If I don't, I look over on the right, and I find something else that looks interesting, click it, move on. So I end up in the strangest places with just some craziest music. It's a lot of fun, and I've never really done it with Rag Hole Flag. There you go. That's a good song. That's a very good song. I've never really done it with jazz, but I'm going to have to jazz hands myself into it, Douglas. I'll have to go into the jazz stream and see where it takes me. What was that Canadian group? Kids in the Hall. One of their players used to do a jazz spoof where he would do this jazz music. It was really funny, and then at the end of it, he would take his hat off and say, "I'm not really from Mississippi." It was so funny. It was just absolutely hilarious stuff. Kids in the Hall. I think they're doing a reunion tour or something. So the 4th trick of the trade is, yeah, you know, I'm talking about bake sauce. Yeah, that was a great skit, and it stuck. I haven't seen that thing in a decade or more. And that one, and it was the scrunching head, of course, and then my Indian drum. Have you seen my Indian drum? Yeah, there you go. That one of them standing below a window, and the other one is above the window, and I think the one below says, "Have you seen my drum, my Indian drum?" And then the guy up above says, "Drum missing." I don't know. It's so funny. It is. I love the Kid in the Hall. I absolutely love it. What did Dave Foley? He was one of them, right? It's Dave Foley, and he's the funniest description of Canadians ever. And I love Canada. I've been there a number of times. There's fantastic people up there. But his funniest description of Canadians was they're just like Americans without guns. So whenever he said that, I just completely lost it. Like, I'm crushing your head. Yes, I crush your head. I crush your head. Oh, that was good stuff. That was good stuff. I hope they are coming back together. One of them appeared on that 70s show for quite a while. Just good stuff. So the 4th, I think we've digressed here a little bit. Thank you for the gifted sub there. I'm not sure what I'm reading here. Thank you for the sub, DM Samuel. Real quick, if you haven't already, please give us a follow. We sure appreciate it. And we'll be back next Tuesday at 4, then Wednesday at 1, and then Thursday again at 8. And we're fixing to get another show in here very soon. So the 4th one, because I'm running out of time, the 4th one is follow the leader, and essentially it's very simple. You don't know what's going on. You're completely confused. You didn't latch onto a word. You're not even looking at your character. You can barely know what you're playing. But the one across from you, they're doing something. Just follow their lead. Just whatever they say they're doing, just say, "I follow the sorceress. I go where she goes. I'm going to guard the sorceress." You know, just say something like that puts you in lead with someone else at the table who perhaps is actually paying attention. And 9 out of 10 times the GM is so jumbled in their head with getting descriptions out, planning the encounter, launching the encounter, figuring out what 5 people are doing that they're not going to care. They're not even going to take notice that you're not actually doing anything. You're just standing there more relevantly towards one of the other players. So follow the leader is always it's just a good, nice misdirection until you can kind of figure out what is going on. So definitely do that. It's probably the easiest of them all, especially if you have 1 or 2 super proactive players, which we all do. You know, there's always 1, usually 2, that get into everything and just kind of to steamroller it, just get on their wagon and go with them. And it doesn't stop the game. Exactly, Ultra. It doesn't do anything. It just attaches you to somebody, and then it gives you an extra 5 minutes to figure out what they're doing. And I can almost guarantee you, if you do that, I would say 19 out of 20 times that GM is going to turn to that player and say, "What are you doing?" so that they can, and then you're saved. You're saved all the way. Just don't pick another player who doesn't know what's going on. Then it's just a mess. Yeah, yeah, right. Sometimes they're going to catch you, but frequently, even if they catch you, they don't want to call you out on it because in that they derail their own game trying to, pinpoint something on you. They want you in the game anyway. So if you're willing to just attach and follow the leaders, then that's something. That's more than saying, I don't know what's going on. So I would definitely do follow the leader if you can. All right. So number 5, lean into it. Okay. So this is probably my favorite. I absolutely love it when players do this. And this one, Douglas, you almost always know the players were not paying attention. And Chuck's got a great picture up here. This is from the movie Open Range. Now, I will give some spoilers away, so if you haven't seen the movie, plug your ears for a second. In this scene, Kevin Costner's fighting 7 or 8 guys. Kevin and Duvall here, I think it is, are fighting 7 or 8, 9, 11 guys, whatever it doesn't matter. And he knows what's going on. But what I'm talking about when I say leaning into it is what a player does, and frequently happens at my table. They don't know what's going on, and they just attack. They just go forward. I move forward. I pull my sword out. They take some kind of aggressive action that propels themselves into the melee that changes the whole dynamics of everything. If it was a combat, you're great, but if it wasn't, suddenly it is a combat. Suddenly now you've got an irate character to handle. So leaning into it becomes... It can be a little aggravating for a GM because it triggers an encounter perhaps, or it triggers something that they hadn't planned or didn't want, or it messes up some NPCs. It can cause all kinds of damage without a doubt. But it's one of those things that I was talking about earlier that it makes the GM immediately respond to the surprising situation, which is cool. Because now the GM, the shoe's on the other foot, the GM has to respond to the surprise that's coming at them. Now, I get this at my table a lot. There's a lot of leaning into things. There's a lot of forward motion before I have a chance to figure out what's happening. So leaning into it is I'm very familiar with it, and I think it's a fantastic way to players to just take the initiative away from the GM. Now the GM's going to almost have to repeat themselves in some capacity because whatever they've already said is going to be triggered. One way or the other. Now, sometimes it can go completely awry. I mean, obviously, you don't want to pull your blade out if there's nothing to attack. But you certainly can say stuff like, all right, I know there's an enemy about, I pull my sword out. There's any kind of stuff that you can do that you just take initiative and you go. Now the GM knows that you're playing. That's very cool. GM's going to feed off of you anyways, so you're golden on that score. So leaning into it is great. Jinx, yes, absolutely. I'm a huge Kevin Costner fan. I even enjoyed Waterworld, and The Postman, both of them. Yeah, Leroy Jenkins. Yeah, that would have been the better clip, Nelson. That would have been, everyone would know, Leroy Jenkins. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's enough with the talking. It's enough with the describing. It's enough with the role playing. Lean into it, go. You've already been bored off of your skull, just move. I have not read that book, Chuck, but The Postman. Chuck just said The Postman is a great book. The movie I thoroughly enjoyed, but I really like Costner on the screen. Waterworld, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed Waterworld. Field of Dreams, good one. Postman, Swingboat, yeah, just a good actor, just good stuff. My favorite by a long stretch is Open Range, and in this scene, the bad guy gives his 30-second spiel about killing some people, and then Kevin Costner just, and this is a spoiler, so plug your ears if you have it, and Kevin Costner just shoots him right in the head. And it's fantastic, and if you watch that scene, and we got it linked somewhere, if you watch that scene, then you'll know that he doesn't care, and that could be your character so easily. Kevin Costner's character could be yours, that you don't know what is going on. So you lean into it, and you go, and you shoot someone in the head, or stab him, or whatever it is. So leaning into it is always a good thing to do. It's always fun. It can cause all kinds of problems. It can, upset an apple cart, but that's okay. I mean, that's the GM's. How's it going, Chili Man? That's the GM's job. I mean, if the GM gets upset because you upset their apple cart, that sort of comes with the territory. you know, this isn't a picture book that you're going through. This is a role-playing experience. It's a living theater. I don't know what it is, but and the GM's just going to have to suck it up when you lean into it and mess up their game. My games have messed up countless times, and that's okay because, you know, all kinds of things happen in life that we don't plan for, right? The same thing, we're living one right now. And the same thing is, it goes on at the table. All kinds of stuff happens that you don't plan for. And that's really the takeaway from leaning into it. You really get to upset the apple cart, and that's a lot of fun. Just be Drew. After the fact, did I err? Exactly. I was just talking about Drew earlier today to Chuck and Tim. Drew, yeah, there's a wandering monster list in A10 where you can encounter a mendicant, and Chuck wanted to pull the mendicant out, and I said, absolutely not. That mendicant is Drew. Just make him smell like cheese, and he's got a lot of cheese on him. So that's what you want to do with that. Holy Spencer Single, holy Christmas, man. I haven't talked to you in 30 years, I think. How's it going? Goodness, Spencer and I went to college together, good God, back in the 80s, long time gone. He used to sit at my table once in a while. Lots of stuff. All right, so Tim's getting knocked out right or left. Not knocked up, which is good. All right, good deal. Okay, so I think a wandering monster with a mimic. I take out my dagger and hide behind the paladin, kicking it to the mimic. There you go. Put the paladin to use. There's even a better way to lean into it. Lean someone else's character into it. There you go. That's the way to do it, James. Don't lean your own character into chaos. Lean someone else's. There may be repercussions later if they live, but you know, if they don't, what can you do? There you go. That's fantastic. All right, so that's how to properly lean into it as a goblin rogue. Yeah, you're the small guy at the party, so definitely don't have a lot of weight with you. So that's about it. We're running out of time quickly here. So a couple of recaps. Join us again Tuesday at 4. We'll be here at 4 o'clock for Ask Me Anything. I just sit here and jibber jabber and answer questions about anything Troll Lord industry-wise. You know, we've been doing this for 20 years, so we kind of got an idea of what's going on hither and yon. So any questions, industry, Troll Lord, Castle of Sage, Amazing Adventures, Victorious, whatever it is, give us a shout. And then we have World Anvil is a big release of ours coming up where everybody can join in and kind of get into the world of Arid, and Tim will be down from the mountains 1 o'clock next Wednesday to do a stream on that, and then I'll be back again next Thursday at 8 for another GM Tricks of the Trade, and I may do another player Trick of the Trade here. We'll see. I'm not sure what I'm doing next week. I'm in the middle of the Runes of Meat, so I got to wrap that up. But thanks for coming by, Mad Matt. Sure appreciate it. Randy is Dominique. Good Lord. Hello, Dominique. How's it going? It's been quite a while, Spencer, quite a while. But we are wrapping this up, so join us next week, please do. And I think Chuck's got a game on Saturday that he'll have over here on the Twitch. Come over and watch Chuck run some Castle of Crusade. And sometimes 5th edition. I'm not sure which game system he's using at the moment, but a lot of fun there. If you haven't followed us, please give us a follow. We sure do appreciate it. Thank you for the sub, Ultra Magnus. Very much appreciate it. And now here in a few minutes, we are going to do a raid. Yeah, Miranda, that's the craziest thing. Very cool, though, isn't it? We're going to do a raid into the world of my son's stream. Now, he plays role-playing games. We do bi-weekly or so here with he and a couple of other people. It's been a little bit longer than that, but he's got his own stream and he does video games. Now, we're going to raid from here, so if you could hang out for a little bit and go over, give him a follow if you would, and chime in, but be advised, it's a little bit more rankus. He's, you know, and gets into the first-person shooters, and at times the anger boils over. So there's usually colorful language, and that's okay. It's yes, you are rating my son Pete, Troll Tusk E, of which we have an ongoing argument. He said he came up with that first, but that was the name of our newsletter years ago. But he keeps threatening to sue me that I took his name. So there you go. Thanks for joining us, Elizabeth Indigo. We will talk to you soon. And I got to get you some maps for Victoria's White City. And we've got, I think I've got the other two sections edited, I think. I'm not sure where we are on that, but we got to get that. That has got to get out. Valorant. No, it is Trolltusk is who you'll be hitting here very, very soon. So give him a hard time when you get over there. Let's see if he can't. He's pretty good at it, but let's see if we can flood him some. But definitely come back, join us again next week. If you're not a regular, we sure do appreciate everybody coming out and joining us. And absolutely love the stream. I love the one-on-one, and on these GM tricks of the trade in particular. I love hearing from you guys because we've all been running games for a long time, and we've all got things ways that we handle stuff. So definitely love to hear from everybody and the way you guys tackle certain problems, especially the problems that we're talking about, or even whatever. We always digress, so definitely. Okay, so the raid is coming soon, I think. It says that I'm offline. Okay, I don't know what's going on, but I am offline, stopping streaming. Thank you all.